Hey, this is Jeremy Reeves. You're listening to Awaken Nation with Brad Zales.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Zales, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things to Awakened Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a great guest on today. We're going to be talking about something that a lot of people do not talk, and that's the combination of business and spirituality. And I have to give a big shout out to our good friend, common friend, Manny Wolf, the Beretta of business business coaching. I always call him Beretta. But welcome to the show, Jeremy. Excited to have you on today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I'm going to read your bio just a little bit. Uh, Jeremy helps entrepreneurs build scalable profit models so they can grow faster, keep more profit, and stress less. And if you're an entrepreneur, holy crap, you know that sometimes you're tearing your hair out because it's all on your shoulders, man. Jeremy Reeves is the founder of Scale Advisors and the author of The Scalable Profit Model. He's built multiple eight-figure offers, advised 7 and 8 figure companies across diverse industries, led teams of over 100 employees, and generated nearly 200 million in revenue across businesses he's built or worked with. And we're also going to be talking about how he's from Pennsylvania as well. So, and maybe some meat on the brisket being smoked.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome, Jeremy. Glad to have you on.
Yeah. Thanks again. Yeah, it's I'm excited to chat. Have a good time.
Good, good. I just want to ask real quick, how did you get into this work? I mean, what drew you in? Because a lot of people, they either choose to be in a profession or they get drawn
Mhm.
in accidentally. What happened with you?
Yeah, so I mean, since this is a spiritual show, I fully believe now, as is the case with pretty much everything, that things were just meant to be. Things happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. It's
Yeah.
really hard to see that in the moment, but then a couple whatever weeks or months or years pass, and you look back and you're like, oh wow, that's why. Even the bad things, especially the bad things. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I started my junior year of college going into senior year that summer. And I'm still living with my parents at that time. And it was just as simple as I walked in the door. There was a direct mail letter on my parents' counter, and I
Right.
opened it. It was addressed to me, and I still remember clear as day. The headline was, "Can you write a simple letter like this?" Right? That completely changed the trajectory of my career. I read that sales letter. It was selling a course on copywriting. This is back in like 2007, I think. So a
Wow.
long time ago. And I ended up becoming a copywriter, and then like coincided all this stuff. My uncle, who I'd never talked to, I don't think ever before that, and since after, I actually literally don't even know if he's alive. Uh, he came up from Florida. We were in Pennsylvania at the time. He came up from Florida and tried to get my dad and I into like an MLM, a multi-level marketing thing, network marketing, the same thing. And it all just kind of happened all at the same time. And I was going to school for, well, the first 2 years I went for elementary education, and then I changed it to psychology because I realized for elementary education I was like I'm just in it. I had that that insight at the time that it was more of a summers off sort of thing, which is
Right.
ironic because I love to work now. And it did, so I had that. I'm like, okay, I can't go into a career just for the summers, right? Because I'm gonna hate the rest of my life over the
Right.
other 9 months. And so I changed to psychology because I like to understand how people think. I've always been fascinated with the human mind in all scenarios. And yeah, so then I was a copywriter until 2017, and then I made the crazy move. The very successful copywriter. I mean, all kinds of controls in the industry. I mean, I don't know how much at that point. Probably somewhere in the range of $75 million or so that I did for all my clients at that point. Had I mean massive wins across the board, and shut it all down because I am kind of obsessed with growth. I literally look
Right.
back at the end of every year, and one of my main factors that I look at for how that year was, do I feel like I was an idiot 1 year before? Right? That's like my milestone, you know? And if I can look back and say, wow, I was so dumb that, last New Year's Eve, then I know I had a really good year in terms of growth. And I will say I've done that every single year since I started doing that. Every single year I look back and I'm like, wow, how was I that dumb a year ago? And it's a good, if you want to be successful in life, it's a really good kind of measuring stick. So
Yeah.
good.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, you're an entrepreneur. Did you hear that? You should be growing. Hello. When I first went freelance in New York City, it was after 4 or 5 years of working for these various companies, and I was just tired of being the ping pong ball that got, they it's a design firm. They don't fire the accountants. They fire they do layoffs when they don't meet their budget or they lose a client. So advertising and marketing was very volatile for me. And I said, you know what? I'd like to make enough money that I can rest once in a while rather than hustle all the time.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I went freelance. And in the first 6 months, I made my year's salary from the year before. And
Wow.
I never looked back. I mean,
Yep.
you really do have to look at it that way. You have to go into growth. And what would you say that triggers, let's say, hyper growth for some companies? Because you've worked with a lot of brands, and so you have growth, but how do you get into that hyper growth? And maybe you just want to talk about either or, separately.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. So I mean, I like anyone else, I can go based on what I've seen in my career, and I've
Hmm.
done. I think it's five different offers that have done $10 million or more. Some
Hmm.
of them were, let's see, the two or three of them were like just about 10 million within the first 12 months. So I've been behind the scenes, and whether it was like my product, I got one of my own businesses up to 1 million a month within like 3 months, and then the rest of them were client projects that I like, wrote all the copy for, built the sales funnels, all the fun stuff that we do. And I would say there's really two main things. Uh, One is having what I call a scalable offer score, and it's like all the things that you need for an offer to scale well, right? So you have to have like product market fit. It has to be good market timing. You have to be in a good kind of sweet spot with competition where there's enough competition because it proves demand, right?
Right.
But you're not then like trying to go into this ocean as another Me Too product, right? So there's all these factors that go into it on the more on the conversion side of things, right? That get people to actually buy the product, whatever you sell. And then beyond that, so there's, I guess, think of it as the conversions on one side and all the factors that go into getting high conversions for whatever it is that you sell. And then the second part of it is economics, right? And that's something that a lot of people do not talk about. And it's actually, I've literally wrote a book
Right.
about it called the Scalable Profit Model. And it's what the entire book is about, is how do you break down the business, the economics through the business, so that you can scale more? And how do you
Yeah.
get more leverage so that you spend, we're all here for whatever, 8 to 10 hours a day. How do you maximize those hours so that you're
Yeah.
working on the things that give you, for every dollar that you add or save, it's giving you, $2 or $4 or $6 in profit, right? And
Yeah.
and it's just something that I looked at after kind of everything that I've done in my career, and I'm like, what was the thing that really made the things that popped, right? What was the thing that made it happen? And it always came down to those two things. And probably economics on the that was like the hidden thing that most people don't do. Because
Yeah.
most people, at least again, I'm only going on my experience. Most people are obsessed with like the number of customers, right? That's what we all want: more
Yeah.
customers, more volume, more revenue, right? And that's kind of what I teach now, is to not do that, right?
Yeah.
Because yes, it's shiny, it's sexy, it's fun. Like we all want more, But I literally know people who grew so fast, like have an eight-figure business and went bankrupt because
Yeah.
they had the revenue, but then the profit, as they grew their revenue, their profit actually went down, and they couldn't keep up either, whether it was a cash flow issue or
Yeah.
we're spending too much to acquire customers and then not getting that money back in fast enough time.
It's so true. I there was a trend years ago, and this is why they shifted to just-in-time ordering for hardware.
Mm,
One of the big computer companies had overbought as much hardware and towers as they possibly could. And with the prices shifting and going crazy, they were actually losing money every time they sold one of these
right.
servers to another company. And it was literally like, wait a minute, that's crazy, you know. And if you start
Yep.
to think in terms of, do I want a lot of widgets sold, or do I want quality, and I want to upscale or
Hmm.
upsell or cross
Hmm.
sell? Because I find if you add packages to your services that have a little
Hmm.
bit more in them,
Yep.
people will always lean into, oh, I like this package better. It's more
Hmm.
money, but I get more.
Right.
Yeah. Have you found that to be true with other clients and customers?
Yeah, I literally have a section in the book that talks about that, literally that exact same thing. Is it's one of the biggest when you're talking about the economics that you get like on the first thing that you sell, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest wins that you can get is just giving people options, right? Rather
Yeah.
than just, hey, buy this, it's like, hey, buy this, or by the way, we also have the premium version,
Yeah.
right? It is such an easy win for people, and it's so overlooked. It's actually one of the first things that, like when I'm working with clients, is one of the first things I look at is their offer structure, right? And
Yeah.
it's like are we maximizing? Because there's always people who want whatever. For every 100 people that buy your normal product, there's always a couple people who want the enhanced version, the premium version, faster results, better results, whatever it is that you're selling, and they're willing to pay, twice as much, five times as much, 10 times
Yeah.
as much versus the original package, and it's so you don't need many of them to like
Yeah.
to add an extra 25% of revenue,
Yeah.
and all that revenue is coming, like it's just a higher price if you have a good enough contribution margin. You're adding all that, it's all profit, right?
Yeah.
So it's when you do the numbers, that's one of the ways
Yeah.
they talk about that you might only add a dollar, for every dollar in revenue you're adding a couple dollars in profit, versus if
Yeah.
you just kept doing what you were doing, it
Yeah.
would kind of be like a dollar in revenue is a dollar profit, sometimes less depending on your economics. But there are certain things like that where you can add a dollar and get $5 in profit or whatever it is. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah.
If you're a small business owner and you're hustling like crazy, there's always, and we can talk about this, Jeremy, there's always that thing where the owner, the founder, the creator of the business forgets to pay themselves. And at the
Hmm.
end of the week, they're like, "Yeah, I sold 1 million of these, but I'm broke." And it's like, well, if you weren't able to pay yourself, you're not
Hmm.
charging enough for what you're selling, or you're not providing premium packages to get people to upsell, and that's where your sweet spot is. And you were talking about you said there's a few small tweaks you can use to double your profit with minimal risk.
Hmm.
Um, were you want to talk about that, or was that part of what you were
Sure.
just
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, we can go into it. So basically, I'll kind of break down. So I have my whole like philosophy of everything that I've kind of coalesced into like a system, right? Is there's five levers that control profit. And again, like I don't love to talk about revenue because revenue is easy. Like it's really not hard to get more revenue. It's a lot harder to get more profit, and so you have to be more strategic, and just it's really all about applying leverage in the right places. That's really all business is. It's applying leverage in the right places to then change the economics, and the economics are essentially the lifeblood of your business. They're the better way of saying it is economics and math is like the language of business, right? And so if you
Right.
understand that language and understand what levers move, will change that language, then it's a lot easier to do well, right? So there's five levers. The first is contribution margin. So that's basically like your variable costs, right? Like if you sell something for
Okay.
$100, all the variable costs that go into delivering that thing, that would be your contribution margin, right? The
Right.
second one is acquisition economics, and that's kind of what I mentioned before. It's like it's if you look at that from a metric standpoint, it's kind of like the conversions and the economics, right?
Right.
And then we have customer lifetime value, which is like, and this is something, just a quick pause here. This is something that um, I would say is probably the most underlooked of all the levers. It's probably the one, it's usually when I'm working with people, it's like, let me see what happens after someone buys, right? Because
Right.
again, everyone is so obsessed with getting the customer, getting the customer, getting the customer. But then if you look at the economics, it's like, why are we doing this? The first time we get a customer, it's the most expensive they will ever be, right? We make the least amount of profit on the initial customer. There's nothing else in your business that is less profitable than that initial customer, right? And but then that's where everyone focuses, right? So lifetime value is a massive, massive one for so many people. And then we have operational efficiency, which is there's a lot of ways to like kind of talk about operational efficiency, but the way that I look at it from an economics standpoint is basically your ratio between your fixed costs and your revenue, right? So and again, there's a lot of leverage in that. And then the final one is capital return velocity, which is essentially this whole thing. That kind of that and like what I call profit models is very similar. It's basically we all have fixed expenses, like fixed overhead and acquisition costs. Those are all of our costs, right?
Yeah.
And so when you are investing into your business, you invest a dollar into acquiring customers, paying overhead. How long does that, like you have to use that to acquire the customer? That has to pay off your variable costs. Like, you only keep whatever, 70% or whatever of each dollar. And then you have to pay off with that 70 cents per unit per customer. You have to then pay off your overhead and your acquisition, and then it starts turning into profit. And so
Yeah.
capital return velocity is how long does that process take? Because then
Right.
you can reinvest it. If you get a capital return velocity of 1 month, you can then reinvest that money and compound it 12 times versus if it's 3 months, you can only do it 4 times within the year. So
Right.
you basically triple the growth. So yeah.
I find this fascinating. I became fascinated with business despite having a degree in art and design. I started to become fascinated with business when I moved to New York City. All the levers, everything that's making it work. And through the years, I started to realize, and everybody's teaching this who really knows business, and that is the long tail relationship
Yep.
that you're creating with these customers. Yes, it's expensive to get that first customer, and by the way, a lot of people don't know their numbers on getting those new clients. They have
Hmm.
no idea.
Right.
You should know your lifetime value (LTV)
Hmm.
for your customer base. And I got to tell you, I've made more money from repeat clients, customers who actually have become friends through the years. And
Hmm.
by the way, they throw money at me. The clients
Yep.
that pay
Yep.
top dollar for my services, as
Yep.
opposed to the ones who want to be cheap. As soon as
Hmm.
I hear somebody, can you do it for this? I'm like, we're
Yeah.
out. We're
Right.
out. Because almost always the cheaper clients want to micromanage me.
Hmm.
And let's talk about that. Have you found, there's a dichotomy, it depends on the type of client you have. Do you want to sell a million widgets or do you
Mm.
want to provide this amazing experience?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to, we'll just say building out a high lifetime value specifically with services. The way that I like to do it is on the lower end. There should be a range. There should always be a range, right? And my one of the really easy criteria is if you have enough work at level one, create a level two. And then if you have people that are paying for level two, and I should be more specific, not enough work as in like your 100% capacity, but like if you have people paying for level one, create a level two because some of those people will pay for level two. And then when you have enough people paying for level two, create a level three. And of course, you're getting more and more value for more and more money. And you really only stop that process when you can't find anyone that's
Yeah,
willing to pay
yeah,
you enough, right? So on the lower levels, that's when you can get into things like doing like productized services, right?
right.
Where you're focusing on the system for delivering the outcome versus like the one-on-one hands-on touch. That's for the lower end. And then as you go up, you're giving them more access.
Yeah.
You're giving them better results, right? Things like that, like whatever they're gonna, it's hard to say it in like a general way, but like whatever's gonna give them more value, right? You're
Hmm.
charging more for that, and you're only getting a couple of those clients maybe that are paying
Right.
you whatever is $50,000, $100,000, whatever it is for your business. But again, it comes back to if you only get 10 of those a year, and you have a hundred of your normal clients, you can a lot of times double or even more your profit just by adding
Right.
that one thing. Even with 5 or 10% of people only taking it versus your other services, you can do things like double your profit, right? So
Right.
it all just comes back to leverage. And actually, one of the things that I was actually doing this while I was building this business, Scale Advisors, that I have now. I actually made a little spreadsheet of basically what services, this is when I was planning out what services I could do. And I actually made a spreadsheet of what services I would do, what I would charge, and the estimated time required per, like I did it on a monthly basis. And that gives you like an estimated kind of dollar per hour of your time. And then you
Right.
could just go on that. And that's again comes back to leverage, right? Because if
Yeah.
you can have something that delivers value, the same end result, but you can get, 3 times more dollars per hour doing it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know Rob Anspach? I don't know if you know him.
I don't know.
He has a podcast called E-Heroes, and he's from down where I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Lebanon.
Hmm.
And he's been an entrepreneur for probably as long as I have. And we crack up at this because he raises his prices every year. He doesn't care what people think. He raises his prices every
Right.
year. And I'm a graphic designer, so I've stopped doing an hourly rate and I just do a flat rate because
Mhm.
I know what I'm worth.
Right.
And most of my stuff starts at about 5 grand, but
Okay.
I'm raising my rates to 7,500 because I discovered recently if I throw out, I've said it's 5 grand to start, and they never argue with me on that one. And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, if they don't
Yeah.
argue,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
so it's going up to 7,500 because I realized I have something that is a commodity that they really want. And sometimes I have to make a lot of changes because they're pitching to different
Mhm.
people. So, I'm on board with you on this. And if
Yep.
your entrepreneur is listening, the only reason I brought up my story is so you can learn from it. Don't do what Brad's done, do better.
Yeah.
And the same with
Yeah.
Jeremy. How can
Yeah.
small businesses who offer services like mine do better?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's what one of the a good rule of thumb, and this is something it's kind of funny. Back when I was a copywriter, whatever, 10 years ago almost, uh, I didn't realize this then, but I did now, and then I look back and I'm like, God, I could have charged so much more money. Uh, I've typically found that a good sweet spot, right? If you're getting somewhere in the range of like 35, 40% of people that say yes, that's a good sweet spot. It means you're pretty much in the right zone with your pricing.
Right.
If you're getting, 70, 80% of people, you can raise the price, right? In that case, probably, 30 to 50%. It depends on a bunch of factors, but 30 to 50% or so. Um, and yes, it's going to drop your overall closing rate. But even if you raised it by, just say, we'll just do simple numbers, 50%, and you still were able to keep, and it dropped your closing rate by, I don't know, 25%, right? You're still up a lot. And if you actually look at that in terms of profit, my guess is you would probably increase your profit by, I don't know, probably around 50%. I mean, there's a lot of different
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things that go into it, but yeah, so you have to find that sweet spot. You don't want to be undercharging because every dollar you go up, you're increasing your contribution margin, you're
Yeah.
increasing how much you keep for every dollar, right? So
Yeah.
it's getting the pricing is really important, and I've just found the best metric is your closing rate,
Yeah.
So yeah,
So you believe in results.
I
um,
do.
I have fired clients through the years.
Hmm.
And the number one criteria for me firing them is if they just create all kinds of problems and think they know better than me. I've been
Mm,
doing this 40 years.
yeah.
And so I've fired them, and it's always the low hanging fruit, the little guys who want this change and that change, and then they're shocked that I charge them for it.
Mm,
And so what I've learned to do, and this is an old statistic, I don't even know if I get it right, but they say if you get rid of like 26% of your really horrible clients, just drop them, hand them off to someone else. I've done that. I've handed clients off to other designers.
mhm,
Once you get rid of them, your energy now, and we're now getting into the spiritual side of things,
mm.
your energy is not being spent on mishigas. I'm using is that Yiddish or Hebrew? You're not spending all your time doing crazy work,
Yeah.
and now you can focus on the clients you have, and you get a 75% increase in money coming in because now your energy is aligned and focused,
Yep.
and you can upsell. Hey, I just thought of something. I've called up clients. I go, hey, I just thought of something. Yeah, how about if we take this and turn it into a keynote speech for you? And I train them, and then we go to a book, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
what I thought was 7,500 turns into 50 grand.
Right. Yep.
And let's talk about this. And this is a big factor for one man bands and one woman bands, and that is business self esteem. I feel that a lot of people don't feel worthy to charge what they
Mm,
charge, or they look at the client and they work backwards and they say, well, they probably can't afford this, so I'm going to charge
mm.
this. So
Yep.
you shrink yourself, and you sit there and go, well, he can't pay for that. How about not offering any services to someone who can't pay your fees? Because I'm sorry to swear on the show, but I'm a grown ass man and I got a mortgage to pay.
Uh-huh.
Freelance doesn't mean I'm free. And I've had several businesses, so I know how graphic design can uplift your brand and increase sales. That's a little
Mhm.
magic trick. But let's dig into this low self-esteem in the entrepreneurial circles.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's a couple. I mean, that's a big topic. I think there's two main parts that I can see with that. Number one is people being afraid to sell, right?
Yeah.
I learned it in copywriting from John Carlton. He would called it selling from your heels, right? You're like kind of like, oh, well, I mean, maybe if you want it, you don't have to really get it. But I actually just had there's a guy that came yesterday and he was doing some stuff on our roof. It's exactly what he did, and I got it so cheap, And I'm like, oh man, you're selling yourself so short. I probably would have paid at least double what he charged me.
Yeah.
But he didn't have that self-esteem, that confidence. So there's the way that I think about it is in terms of specifically in terms of being afraid to sell, right? Which sometimes comes from lack of self-esteem, but just specifically on that one is think about it in terms of uh, let me step back. A lot of people are afraid to sell because they think it's spammy, they think it's aggressive, those
Yeah.
sorts of things. So, number one, you're talking to someone about fixing their problem. They're literally coming to you and saying, "I'm having a problem. Can you fix it?" Right?
Right.
And then people are like, "Oh no, well I don't want to sell," and it's like they're literally asking you to sell to them.
Hmm.
Like imagine if you went to your mechanic and you took it in for your yearly checkup and that sort of thing, and you went in there and you had let's just say that your one of your brakes was failing. All right.
Right.
You went in to get an oil change, but they noticed that your brakes are failing. It's so irresponsible of that person to not sell you on fixing your brakes, right? And if you apply that to whatever it is, like obviously that's an extreme example, right? Because that literally could
Yeah.
be could be something that's life threatening. But like if you just bring that bring the hyperbole down a little bit, right, to whatever it is that you sell, people are coming to you to solve a problem. Your job
Yeah.
is literally solving problems. So when it comes to selling stuff, you should be, and I'm not saying like it's all in how you do it. Like I'm not saying to be
Right.
super hypey and super aggressive and loud and all the things, but it really it's powerful to explain and say, hey, you have this problem, and then dimensionalize that problem, and
Right.
explain how, like, hey, that's probably affecting your life in this way and that way, and it's not just the money, but it's also your health and your, whatever, your relationships with your family. Obviously, it depends on what you're selling, right?
Right.
So that's one thing of just being afraid to sell is like just try to. A lot of people have a lot of negative blocks, usually from childhood, right?
Yeah.
And it's really important. I think one of the best skills I've ever learned in my life is just becoming self-aware, right? Becoming aware of the thoughts that are going through your head is one of the most life-changing, profound things you can ever do for yourself. Right. And so when you're talking to someone and then you've been doing this so much through meditation or whatever your
Yeah.
practice is for increasing self-awareness, right? And there's a lot of things. Um, then you start catching yourself like, oh, wait, no, I'm selling for my heels again. No, we need to, now push forward. No, we want this sale. We want to help them, right? So that's one thing. And then in terms of self-esteem, I think one of the things that really helped me, because I used to actually have this problem too, is I would set like a monthly reminder, and I would literally go back and just look through the results that I've gotten for clients, right?
Right.
And so that's step one is like, look, like whatever it is that you do, you probably do it really well. If you don't do it
Yeah.
really well, maybe you should be doing something else, right? So we're just we're just going to assume that whatever it is that you do it well, right?
Yeah.
And so if you do a good job and you have people coming to you for a problem, you know how to solve that problem. That should cancel out the self-esteem thing because you know that you can solve the problem, for whatever it is that they have.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes a little bit of coercing. It takes a little bit
Yeah.
of smashing those beliefs and getting
Yeah.
in, mentally with the hammer, just whacking yourself, not
Yeah.
literally, please, not literally. I'm talking about mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and realizing like, hey, wow, and I would say the second part of that is like go back and look at the results that you've gotten people, but think about how that changes their life, right?
Yeah.
Because in most services, we'll just say I don't know, chiropractor, right?
Yeah.
I'm going through. I've been having back stuff. I actually found out finally that I've been having back pain for like two years, and finally got an MRI and found out that I actually have a genetic defect in my L5S1, like right above your tailbone, and that's like
Yeah. I
it's
know.
like oh that's why nothing has worked because I literally it's like not there. The
Yeah.
stabilizing joint or whatever, it's like not working,
Yeah.
So anyway, so uh, it's if you were a chiropractor, right? Think about that. Like, and you've helped people, and people probably give you reviews and testimonials. Think about how that changes their life, right? You're
Yeah.
not just helping them get out of your pain. You're giving them your life back, right? They're
Yeah.
able to play with their grandkids again. I know for me, I'm a young guy. I'm very active. I love to work out and run and do all the things, right? And pretty much the whole past year, 2025, I was completely out of commission. My back was so bad, I had to stop doing any workouts whatsoever. And
Yeah.
that killed me. Just mentally, it was really, really hard for me to do because it's been part of my identity, my
Yeah.
life for the past whatever 20 some years, 30 years,
Yeah.
25 probably. And so yeah, so it's really just about number one, understanding that you're literally there to solve people's problems. And then number two, and again, assuming you do it well, you give them results, and it's about expanding that, right? And saying I didn't just do this, but how does that change their
Yeah.
life? Whether you gave them more money, or you gave them a better relationship, or you improved their sex life, or you whatever it is that you do, think about like if you were dealing with that, and how good that would feel, right? And
Yeah.
that's what you're giving people. And so it's like, oh my God, I want to do this all day. I want as many clients as I do, and I want to charge them more because they're gonna value it that much more. And maybe if you're really struggling with it and you want to charge more, but you just can't get over the hump, one of the things that I've found that helps is to like almost fake yourself out, right? Like I
Yeah.
say like, oh, I'm going to increase my price 50%, but I'm also going to add this one thing, right? And it's like you have to just again comes back to self-awareness. You have to see if you're have your own those blocks and just figure out how to smash them
Yeah.
down, you know?
Um, Nice segue, by the way. I wanted to go into the spiritual aspect of this, the touchy feely stuff, the greatest stuff. Uh, I want to go into this. I don't know if you ever saw the book, The Corporate Mystic. And it's a great book on showing you some of the biggest billionaires and multimillionaires in the world have a very deep rooted um, faith, not
Mhm.
religion, a faith. And they interviewed everybody from Christians to Buddhists who were CEOs, men and women. And you're sitting there going, I didn't know that about them.
Yeah.
And so let's dive into this a little bit because you did talk about this. Being spiritual, I feel drives my intuition. It helps. It almost seems like luck sometimes to the outside world.
Yeah.
This is the second half of our show. Let's let's dig into that, Jeremy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, man, there's a lot to talk about. And I'll actually show you. I don't know. Here, hold on.
Go
I gotta
ahead. Hold on.
get
Get
to
up to
so I
the
can see myself on here. There we go. So I know what I'm looking at. So I actually have a whole sleeve tattoo that starts it
nice.
starts up there, the tree of life with my whole family on it, and then it comes down. And this is the Om symbol right here with the Kundalini snake wrapped
Yeah.
around it, and then this is a dude like kind of meditating. It's like just meditating and dissolving into the universe, and
Right.
Metatron's cube up or yeah up here, and yeah. So I have a whole sleeve of
Nice.
spirituality stuff. I've gone down into the Amazon jungle, do ayahuasca. I mean, I've done all sorts of stuff.
Me too.
Have you? Yeah,
I
that
didn't go to
was
the I didn't go to the Amazon jungle, but I went to California in the desert
mm,
with a guy named Bearheart and a good buddy of mine. When I first moved out here, he helped get me back on my feet. Michael Purvis, he's a big ayahuasca guy, Cambo and all that. But I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say,
yep,
hey, we have a commonality here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Go into it. What was the ayahuasca experience like? Because a lot of people are like, oh, that's drugs and it's dangerous. It's like, no, 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 no,
Mhm.
no. Let's go into ayahuasca as a healing modality and a medicine. This is not drug use. And for those of you who are being judgy, I have seen a lot of big CEOs and corporate leaders and famous people in
Yeah.
business and all over who are at these ayahuasca events to purge themselves of a deep traumatic experience. So
Hmm.
let's go into that, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Excited to
yeah.
hear this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's I am a huge we'll just call it psychedelic proponent.
Yeah.
And legally. And there are so many ways to do it now legally. So yeah, so anyone thinking that it's like the same as like any other drug like a cocaine or heroin or something like that, I promise you it is not. No, I've actually never done any of those, so I can't say like the experience is the same or different. I don't think they are. But I've never done any of the hard drugs like that. But um, it's a lot of people think like, oh, you're going down there just to party and have a good time. I promise you that is not the case.
No. Yeah.
It is some of the hardest things that you will ever experience in your life.
Yeah.
And so basically any psychedelic really, right? What they do is you have all of this stuff, wrapped up inside, this little meat suit that we have here, right? And you have all the traumas of your life, of past lives, of all the, all the things that's ever happened to you, and it's stored in your body, in your subconscious, all that. So basically, what they do is they take your what's it called the I can't I'm blanking on the name of it, the default mode network
Yeah.
or default whatever it is, the kind of just the chatter in your brain, like if
Yeah.
you sit down to meditate and then
Yeah.
you hear all that
It's
that
your
that
it's like your
yeah,
engrammatic programming. That's
right,
the
yeah.
base programming. Right.
Right, yeah. So it basically takes that offline for a minute and lets you see the truth. And it lets you experience basically brings all of the trauma that you have. And just to be clear, when I say all, I don't mean like literally everything in one shot where you're just in hell for a couple hours. It's not that, but it's generally the things that if you go into in intention, say it's a sexual abuse or any sort of PTSD, a violent sort of thing. Or I know for me there was stuff like with my childhood that I had to get past. It depends on the person and really
Right.
just your intention even going into it, even within the same person. And it brings all that to the surface, right? Because as humans, our brains want to be safe, right?
Yeah.
So if you have some sort of traumatic experience, our brains go, nope, shove it down, shove it down, shove it down,
Yeah.
shove it down, get defensive. And that's what you get. You even it that's when I say it goes in your body. It literally
Yeah.
sticks in your fascia, in your like throughout your body, makes you tight. I've experienced, I've done all sorts of fascia release work with like emotional
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Um, and so it lets you, it basically says like, okay, here's the thing that you've been avoiding. We're going to go whoop and bring that right up to the surface, and you have to deal with this now.
Yeah.
And depending on the psychedelic, like ayahuasca is kind of like, here it is, man, deal with it, right?
Yeah.
It is definitely not a beginner's one. Versus something like an MDMA, ketamine, that sort of thing. That's going to let you kind of see it, but you can put a different story on it, right? And
Yeah.
you can dissociate, so you can look. It's almost like you're looking at that trauma, but you're seeing it from like a different lens without all the human emotion garbage, right? And you can see it for the truth of what it is.
Yeah.
So in just one really quick example, if someone harmed you as a kid or whenever it was, or if someone harmed you at some point in your life, right? In most cases, it has nothing to do with you, right? It has everything to
Mm.
do with them, what they experience in their life, their trauma that they're basically unleashing on you, right? And it lets you see that, right? And it lets
Yeah.
you like, rather than holding a grudge against that person, it lets you step back and be like, oh my God, I never saw it from that point of view where they were just scared, right? And
Yeah.
I was the easy target in front of them at that moment, right? And then you go, oh my God. And then you forgive them. Like
Yeah.
I've had literal cases where I went in, and I'm not going to go into details on it. It's a very personal thing, but there was someone that I spent like 10 years trying to forgive. And I'm a very, very forgiving person. I've had people screw me out of tens of thousands of dollars, and I can forgive them,
Yeah.
right? This person, I had a very, very hard time. I tried over and over and over in meditations, in like all sorts of emotional healing work, blah, 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 blah. And then I went down there, did that, saw it from a different light, gone. Absolutely
Yep.
1000% forgiven in a split second, and has never come back. And it's been what, 3 years, right? Since I've done that. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of power that they have, right? And so you can use it too, like going back to the self-esteem thing, right? Like say
Yeah.
you wanted to do this, and you were having like self-esteem issues. That usually that's like across the board, and throughout your life you'll see it in various areas, but your business, personal relationships, whatever. And you went down there with the intention of, I want to increase my self-esteem. Probably what's going to happen is you're going to see all the different things, all the different stories you're telling yourself, which are leading, all the bad beliefs, those sort of things that are creating that one thing of low self-esteem. And then it
Yeah.
lets you just dissolve it, just fling it away,
Yeah.
fling it, blow it up, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely do not recommend it for beginners, or
No.
psychedelics in general. You have to have a very like, I know for me, like I meditate. I've been meditating for 20 years or so,
Yeah.
and have been doing a lot of spiritual work for a long time. So it was easy for me, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
but a lot of people, if you don't have the self-awareness, again coming back to that,
Yeah.
right, if you don't have a strong sense of self-awareness, the ability to control your mind, your emotions, you can get caught in these loops, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like your own personal hell when you're in there. And I've
Yeah.
seen people that didn't have that training, and they were like, I hated every second of this, blah blah. They couldn't get past that, and
Yeah.
therefore they didn't get anything out of it. Other people, if you just allow it, right, you just surrender, allow it to come out, allow it to come up, because that's how you release it. And
Yeah.
that goes for all areas of your life, even without psychedelics. Just surrender, let it come
Yeah.
in, let it go out. Just, you're just a vessel that the energy is just coming into and flowing out of, right?
I love it. Um, yeah, and for those of you who are listening, this may sound like, we've gone off the beaten path, but cocaine and heroin, those aren't healing. Those aren't healing,
Yes,
okay?
they are definitely not.
And marijuana has gotten misaligned, cannabis. When you do these things, ladies and gentlemen, we're telling you some of our experience and the beauty of the release. you can tell the medicine before you start to do it what you want the intention to be, what you want the
Yes.
outcome to be.
Yeah.
And if you feel it's something that you needed to heal, I said I wanted to heal, my stuff from childhood. My dad he played psychological games with me and my siblings. And that's what it worked on for me. And once I was done, I mean, people said I looked younger, I looked different.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's such a powerful healing modality, and you should only do it with a safe
Yes.
person that you
Yeah.
understand. So you went down to the Amazon, you went all out, brother.
Yeah, yeah. It was, man, it was crazy. That's been on my bucket list for like literally since I'm a little kid. Not ayahuasca, but the Amazon jungle. And yeah, like when I say like jungle, I mean like we
Yeah. Oh
landed.
yeah.
In fact, in the book, I literally start off. The introduction is this story. Uh, but it's and then it ties actually back into business. But it's flew down into Iquitos and then took a 2 hour bus ride to a river and then I forget if it was a 2 or 3 hour boat ride to where we're getting. So when I say like Amazon jungle, I mean
Yeah.
in the
I know what you
middle
mean.
of the jungle.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was yeah, but
Crazy.
yeah, with any of this, yeah, it's the big disclaimer I want to make is don't just hear that like say you've never been meditating and blah blah blah. Don't just go, I want to do that now. Like you should have some
Yeah, yeah,
training.
yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sure the facilitators that you're with make all the difference. You
Yeah.
have to feel safe doing this. You
Yeah.
have to be in an environment where that's conducive to this. Like, do not do this stuff
Yeah.
and then like go out into grocery stores.
um,
That would be
yeah.
bad for everyone.
These are healing modalities. This is not hallucinogenic drugs for, hey man, I just want to hang out and party. This is
Yeah.
that's the
Mhm.
low um, mean they want you to believe.
Right.
Because we have colleges like Stanford and Berkeley and all these. They're doing research into the healing modalities of these and how to use them for psychotherapy, for psychiatrists and people to heal people who have some things in them that have been so traumatizing that it can't be healed under normal Western thought and
Yeah.
ideas, or
Yeah.
even psychiatry and pharmaceuticals.
Mhm.
And so this is a route for all of us to really be able to become a more perfected human being on earth. I feel we're soul in this meat body, as you said
Right.
before, and our job is to figure out how to heal ourselves, how to not react, how to be more in
Yeah.
presence with that God stuff. So
Right.
thank you
I,
so
I
much. Yeah, this is a great conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. On that last point, one of the things that's really helped me, because I'm always, I always talk about leverage and 80/20, and like I want to get the most bang for my buck in like literally every area of my life. And so when it comes to spirituality or emotional release, all the things, it's the biggest bang for the buck that I've found is just accepting what is, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a good situation, a bad situation, just let it, like I said before, like there's all this energy flow. Just let it come in and then go out. Say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. Oh, man, I feel like shit today. Oh, wow, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Versus being the victim and oh, I feel terrible. I'm so tired. I can't do this. Just that's interesting. I wonder why I feel like this. I wonder what's going on in my brain. Just become curious,
Yeah.
right? I'm telling you, it sounds simple, and people are probably gonna listen. But oh, like, it can't be that easy. I promise you, try it. It's not going to, I'm not saying you're going to feel perfect all the time, right? It takes practice.
Yeah.
You have to go through sort of a process with it. But it's a really good first step. Next time you're stressed about something or you don't feel good or something happens negatively, just try that out and say, you know what? I'm just
Yeah.
going to sit with this and just rather than trying to push it down, pull it up, right?
Yeah.
That one single thing. Don't push it down, pull it up and just sit with it for a minute, let it pass, and it will, and then you'll be fine. And then you move on with your day. I'm telling you, just that one simple exercise will transform your life.
Well, my big thing is I don't like to talk to coaches who aren't working on themselves. So
Mhm.
I feel incredibly honored that you are one of those people, the business advisor, coach, all this that works on yourself, because this is what makes your coaching better. It's not just the results, it's not just the
Yep.
numbers, which you are obsessed with. That's you, that's what makes you so great at this is you like to see results, but the other part is this spiritual part, this love
Yep.
for yourself to take the time out because in Native American studies they say when someone serves ayahuasca or any of these medicines, they have to be what's called a hollow bone. And what
Mm,
that means is you don't have any of your crap involved in when you're coaching people or helping people. You're not sitting there going, working through your own trauma, judging what they're doing. Instead,
right.
you're in a neutral position.
Yep.
And that's how we all should be simply because and it doesn't mean you don't care. It's a form of detachment. It's like you see your children growing up, but you're also willing to let them skin their knees. And then you come in and you save them when the moment's right. But the news media, everything around us, commercials, television, it's designed to take your attention off yourself. And I
Yes.
don't mean self as a selfish thing, a narcissistic thing. It's loving and giving back to yourself despite what you went through so you can serve humanity. That's really how I see it. We're here to serve humanity. And as Nick Nolte said in The Peaceful Warrior, service is the highest calling.
I love
Yeah.
it.
So we're going to go into the lightning round, but before we do, I'm going to ask you some questions. But how do we get a hold of you? Where do we go?
Yeah. I'll say two things. Number one, scaleadvisors.com is like kind of the main website.
Yeah.
And on there, you'll see all the things that I have. I just launched a book called the scalableprofitmodel.com. So again, we'll flip back to the profit side of things. That is basically what I've been talking about. It takes those five levers and it puts it into a system. How do you build a scalable
Yeah.
profit model so that you know with certainty for every dollar that I invest, I'm going to make X dollar. It's going to take X amount of time to come back to me as like it pays everything off and make profit. And then how much do I make incrementally after that?
Yeah.
Book breaks down how to do all of that.
Awesome. Reach out. Jeremy is the real deal. He'll kick your butt and kick your business up a few notches. Tremendous meeting you, man. I really love it. I feel like I'm sitting here with a kindred soul. So, all right, let's go
Same
into the
here.
lightning round.
Yeah.
My first question is if you didn't have to do the work you're doing to make a living and to do whatever,
Mm.
what would you rather be doing?
Fixing the mental health crisis that we have in our world today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hands
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I admire that because too many of our kids and adults are on SSRI meds, like
Hmm.
Paxil, Zoloft, Ritalin, and those don't help the problem. They actually can make
Yeah.
it worse over time. Withdrawal symptoms are violence and, some of the things we see in the news. So I think that's a powerful thing for you. Um,
Yep.
and I think you're doing it. I don't know if you've ever read Julie Cameron's The Artist's Way.
No.
Well, she recommends that you write morning pages, and a lot of times we become shadows of what we really want to do.
Mm.
And so you're actually doing it. You're doing it through the corporate world. You're doing it
Hmm.
through other ways of healing. So
That's
I
true. Yeah, I
love
never thought about that
I
actually.
love it. I love it.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to noodle on that one a little more.
Yeah, pick up the book. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My second question is, um, what compels you to write your books? It can't just be for business because you mentioned ayahuasca in one of your books. So what really fires you up when you write?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I went, and I'll give you the quick backstory on this. It won't be, I guess, a quick fire, but I'll give you just a super quick 30-second story. So I had a supplement company that I started in the very, very end of 2019, sold it in July of 2025. And after that, it was kind of the age old, everyone's like, oh, what are you doing in your retirement? All that sort of thing. And I'm like, I've literally never, I don't think I've worked this hard in the last 15 years, you know?
Yeah.
And it was because I just got this, and I guess I'll pull it back to spirituality again. They are very mixed, very intertwined. It was almost as if I couldn't do it. It was almost like one of those moments in your life where you just know that it's the right path.
Yeah.
That's I've had a couple moments like that, like probably 4 or 5 times in my life, and to the point where if you said, "Why don't you do something else?" my answer would probably be because I can't.
Right.
I have to do this. It's almost like someone is just pulling me along, and I
Yeah.
have like on a water board, and I just have to hold on, right?
Yeah.
And so honestly, that's kind of the answer. Is I sold the company, and it was just one of those moments in life that the universe just smacks you in the face and is like, "This is next," and
Yeah.
I started. Totally
For all
agree.
you all, for all of you authors out there that think you're procrastinating, if you just wait, sometimes lightning just hits, and all of a sudden
Mhm.
you write 9 chapters in a weekend, and you can't figure out how that happened.
Yeah.
It's crazy. My third question, final and third question, is out of everything you've done, what is your favorite memory?
Oof. Well, that's a big one. Let's see. Ooh. Are we going in all areas of life, personal, business,
Whatever, it's the one
anything?
that you keep revisiting. You love to remember that one.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I'm gonna take all the kids. I have 3 boys, so I can't. I
Nice.
can't. I don't want to say like, oh, it was my first one, because then the other two. Uh, let's see. I would say. I mean, honestly, the ayahuasca trip is certainly up there. Um, I'm gonna go with that one. Because nothing else is really popping in besides, all the typical like marrying my
Right.
wife and which I've been with 21 years now, like
Oh, God bless.
and the kids being born, like all the usual stuff.
Yeah.
I would definitely have to say, um, actually, you know what? I'm gonna revise that. Not not the Amazon trip, although that absolutely was. I would say the first time that I did psychedelics would be probably be because it was just so it just shattered everything that I ever knew before that.
Yeah.
It was such a I knew for years before that I wanted to do them, and it was actually, again, I was looking for the right place, and then I went to a mastermind, and I had like 5 people in that one mastermind tell me the same person, and I'm like, well, I guess that's gonna happen now, you know. And yeah, it was just one of those things again. Like I've been spiritual for a very long time, have meditated a very long time,
Yeah.
have had experiences of like complete unity and oneness with everything in the meditation. Like so, I've had different experiences like that, but yeah, doing that for the first time, it was really the first time that I was able to like almost come out of my body. Like
Yeah.
I didn't actually have an out of body experience where like I could see myself below or anything, but I was completely dissociated from that. And it
Yeah.
just, it was the difference between believing and knowing. Right.
Yeah.
And it just shattered all paradigms for me. So yeah, I'm going to go with the first one.
You just said it, man. You go from believing in something to knowing it,
Yeah.
and that's the true nature of this. So, you move from pontification to groundedness, and
Hmm.
realize, oh, this was the point of my whole mission on Earth.
Hmm.
It's very powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, please reach out to Jeremy. He's at scaleadvisors.com. That's scaleadvisors.com. He's also on LinkedIn as Jeremy Reeves, Reeves. And yeah, I'm going to leave everything else in the show notes if you need to contact him. Powerful, powerful interview, my friend. Thank you for being an
Appreciate
awakened nation. Yeah.
that.
And I'm not surprised. You're from Pennsylvania. So
Yeah.
what made you guys move out of PA? You went down, you wanted warmer weather, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah. So we're in Virginia Beach now. So my wife and I grew up there. We went to high school together. We started dating in our
Oh,
senior year of high school.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh. Yeah.
And yeah, we were, it was just, I had always wanted to move. I didn't love Pennsylvania. It was after I turned 16, so I stopped. I used to snowboard, and
Yeah.
I stopped when I was 16 because I was just working so much in school. I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And after that, I started to hate the cold,
Me too.
and yeah, I was actually at a mastermind, and I had wanted to move since we got married, but both of our families were there, so it was really
Yeah.
hard to move away from the families. We have three
Oh, yeah.
boys, built-in babysitters, all the things, right? And so she texted me when I was at the mastermind, and literally just said, "I'm ready to move." And within, I think it was within a week or 8 days or something like that of her telling me I had a pre-approval and we are down in Virginia Beach looking for
Yep.
houses. I do not move slow,
Yeah.
and made an offer, and this is the house we're in now. But yeah, it was warmer weather, better schooling system. More entrepreneurs down here was one of them. Beat, we're a couple minutes from the beach. So
Yeah.
that's a massive one. It's our absolute perfect dream home, right? So it was kind of, again, like the
Wow.
universe. It was just like we made the decision we're going to move, and the universe just went, "I got you, brother," and just lined everything up, and bam, it was done. Yeah,
I love it.
it
I
was
love
quite a
it.
beautiful thing.
What's your wife's name?
Katie.
Katie. Shout out to Katie. Thank you for that text. That's what did it. Supporting this man, doing it. Yeah. And three wonderful boys. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Boys are much easier to raise. So I know.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, I don't have girls, I can't compare, but I've heard that uh, boys are harder in the beginning, and then like once they hit teenage stage, they get a little bit easier than
Yeah.
girls, and girls are the best like in the beginning, and then they hit teenage, and then it gets a little squirrely.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have girls, so I can't say whether that's true or not. That's just what I've heard from people who've had both.
Yeah. I've raised three stepkids. Two were boys and one was a girl. And the girl, uh, they're close to daddy in the beginning, but then it becomes hell in the teen years. But the two boys I raised, we understood each other,
Hmm.
and when I told them to clean their room, they would do it. When I negotiated certain things, they would do it.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just a little easier because we understand boys, as men,
Yeah.
you're going to
Right.
understand
Yeah.
your
Yeah. We get
own.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but God bless, man. Honored to have you on the show, Jeremy. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks you for having me on here. It was great. Good time.
Good. And a big shout out to Manny Wolf. Thank you, brother. Awesome. So, hey, everybody, don't forget to tune in next week for another extraordinary guest here on Awakened Nation. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That's how we survive, that's how we rise in rankings. It isn't just viewership. And don't forget, reach out to Jeremy at scaleadvisors.com. Once again, thank you, Jeremy, for being on Awakened Nation. And hey, everybody, until next week, bye bye for now. Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share this episode out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success is because of you. Thank you and see you next week.